Chapter 5. The reporting of dog attacks in early 20th century media. A fascinating aspect of 19th and early 20th century newspaper articles about dog attacks is the perception and portrayal of dogs as emotional beings. Dogs were described as jealous, treacherous, lonely, depressed, enraged, frustrated, angry, brave, heroic and noble. Although 19th century media reports could be dismissed by some as being anthropomorphic, doing so would be narrow-minded and counterproductive. Indeed, modern-day science is just coming to prove what has been obvious to dog lovers for centuries, that dogs are indeed emotional beings. The media of the day understood the complexities of canine behavior and used emotional terms in an attempt to understand the motivations and reasons for dog attacks. At times, dogs involved in attacks on humans were simply described as savage or vicious, but other times the media in the late 1800s showed great insight and understanding of canine behavior. This apparent desire to understand the cause and effects of dog attacks led the media to reveal details of dog attacks not seen in more modern, sterile accounts. While some accounts may have been a bit dramatized, nonetheless the underlying cause of the dog attack was clearly presented and appears to be a reasonable explanation of the forces contributing to the attack. An example of a keen understanding of dogs and their relationships with immediate family members versus more unfamiliar persons is given in the 1910 account of a dog attack in New York City. Solomon Ziskind, who has a wholesale leather store at 2nd Avenue, keeps a big brindle English bulldog called Ruff, for his methods with undesirable intruders. Last evening 10-year-old Solomon Ziskind Jr., with his 10-year-old cousin, Bernard Rom, was playing tag among the crates and boxes that littered the yard. The dog lay huddled in the shadow in the corner. He knew the Ziskind boy and didn't mind him, but his eyes followed the room boy wherever he went. Suddenly, the boy, dodging to escape his cousin, stumbled over the dog and fell. In another moment Ruff leaped growling upon the little fellow. New York Times, March 22, 1910. The article goes on to describe the grievous injuries inflicted on the boy and the subsequent destruction of the dog. This account provides information understood to contribute towards canine aggression. Function, guard dog, wariness of strangers, cousin, and provocation, being tripped over, were recognized as factors that added motivation for this dog to attack. The dog was not in any way excused, nor the attack deemed any more acceptable because of these factors. The circumstances leading up to the attack were presented to show cause and effect. Another case in 1897 describes an attack by a Newfoundland that was a pet and not at all vicious. The dog was lying on the floor in the parlor of the house. The dog resided in the home with the owner and his 17-year-old daughter. The young lady was sitting in a rocking chair when she brought one of the rockers down on one of the animal's paws. The animal sprang up with a yelp of pain and dashed about the room. The young woman called to the dog, and the dog responded by attacking her, biting her in the face, chest and arms. Another report clearly shows that dogs often have limits to the amount of roughhousing they will tolerate. The following case also shows how quickly one dog's actions can trigger a pack attack. In 1886, a 6-year-old boy was playing with 4 dogs belonging to his neighbors. 2 of the dogs were collies, one a Newfoundland, and the other an Uniden, typhoid dog. The human and canine behaviors at work are clearly presented in this accounting of the attack. The Landers boy had often played with these dogs, as they have always been considered harmless. Taking for granted the gentle disposition of the dogs, the child harnessed one of them, and, as he expressed it, began to play horse. In chasing the dogs he fell and one of the collies bit his wrist, and when the child attempted to rise they turned upon him and began to tear him in a fearful manner. A man who was passing was attracted by the boy's outcry, and after some difficulty succeeded in driving the dogs away, but not until they had literally stripped the child of his clothing and almost killed him. Mitchell Daily Republican, November 7, 1886. The article concludes with the hope that attending physicians would be able to save the boy's life. A newspaper article entitled, "Attacked by Starving Dogs," is clear in presenting the condition of the dogs and the behavior of the victim, which clearly contributed to this attack. The attack occurred in Philadelphia in 1885. A 12-year-old girl was returning home from the butcher's shop carrying a package of meat when a pack of approximately 12 dogs began to follow and harass her. When the dogs began jumping and snapping at the meat she was holding, the girl became frightened and started to run. The dogs followed, quickly knocking her down. In the ensuing frenzy, not only was the meat consumed, but the girl was severely bitten about face, arms and legs with her clothes shredded and stripped off. A fair number of dog attack reports state clearly that the dog was teased or provoked by children. While girls seem to do inadvertent things to cause a dog to attack, such as pushing the dog away or going near a dog with food or a bone, boys on the other hand seem to provoke dogs quite regularly and intentionally. In 1891, a group of boys were playing on a street in Wheeling, West Virginia. A yard off the street contained a kennel with 6 huge English Mastiffs inside. One 9-year-old boy approached the kennel and began teasing the dogs. It can only be assumed the fence made the boy feel secure enough to continue his tormenting to a dangerous level. The Mastiffs were huge, numerous, and became fearfully enraged. The dogs broke down the fencing and killed the boy. Some particularly sad cases involved boys teasing a dog and the dog taking its frustration out on an innocent girl who happened on the scene. In 1905, 2 boys were inciting a large dog to attack a smaller dog. When the little mistress of the small dog rode up on her bicycle, the large dog attacked the unfortunate girl. She was severely bitten, but survived her injuries. Dogs turning their frustration on innocent victims was not uncommon. Nor was it uncommon for humans to unreasonably expect dogs to tolerate all types of torment and still behave amicably. This article about a fatal dog attack in 1905 thoroughly vilified the dog, yet at the same time presented the details that drove this dog into a frenzy. The owner of a yard with a number of fruit trees purchased a large bulldog to guard against the stealing of the fruit, which are an attraction to the boys of the neighborhood. On an early May morning, Jack, the heavy-headed bulldog, lay crouched beneath a cherry tree, a stout chain limiting the circle of his movement. Boys of the neighborhood saw a chance to get at some half-ripe cherries in a tree near the fence, but found the dog menacing them. They then teased the animal until it was nearly frantic. Nearby, the little daughter of the owner was playing with a rubber ball. The baby's thoughts were busy on the ball. She did not notice how the wicked little eyes, red with rage, watched her. The child toddled in pursuit of a rubber ball that rolled into the bare spot which marked the limits of the dog's chain. The baby stooped for the ball, but, before she could pick it up, the dog had seized her by the head. Perry Daily Chief, May 27, 1905. The account goes on to portray the dog as disloyal and vicious. So while all parties, the boys that teased the dog and the individuals recounting the story, recognize the factors that triggered this dog to attack, nevertheless the implication is that dogs should have no limit to their tolerance of human provocation. This scenario is typical of fatal dog attacks. The older boys were able to read and understand the potential danger this dog had become. The 18-month-old girl was not capable of reading or understanding the danger of entering the chained space of this agitated animal. Since most homes and businesses in the late 1800s were not enclosed by fencing, chaining a dog was often considered less dangerous than letting a potentially aggressive dog roam free. Even though it was a better option, it was also understood to increase aggressiveness. In an article describing the attack on a man by a bloodhound, it was explained that the dog had been chained all 5 years it was owned. It was noted that the dog was secured in his front yard by a strong boat chain, and being chained would naturally be cross. The article, Entirely Too Many Dogs/Many Children Bitten, printed in January 1901, shows that while the author is angry with dogs, he also understands that the problem is very much a human one. A number of complaints have been received by the police lately about children being bitten by dogs. There seems to be no probability that there will be a cessation of these complaints until the authorities again tackle this dog problem in earnest. Of recent years, various breeds of large dogs, such as street bernards and mastiffs, have been introduced into Anaconda, and they have flourished in such a way that there are now hundreds and hundreds of them. They are so large that an attack by one of them on a little boy or girl is a serious matter. Owing to their enormous size, they cannot be beaten off, and when once angered they are said to be very ferocious. It is not always, however, that it is these large dogs that spring upon people. The smaller ones are equally as bad. Oftentimes it is as much the fault of the children themselves as the dogs. The boys tease the animals by throwing snowballs and stones at them and by striking them over the nose and in other ways tantalizing them until the brutes become furious. The Anaconda Standard, January 13, 1901. The author goes on to discuss the frustration of the parents whose child has been bitten and the attempt of dog owners to hide the dog in cellars when police arrive to kill it. It is no small irony that these owners did not contain their dogs to protect them and the public to begin with. Only after a child was bitten and the dog was in immediate danger of being shot by police did they think to contain the animal. Clearly the media and the public of the late 1800s and early 1900s had a grasp on the causes and reasons for dog attacks. Obvious factors, such as excessive heat, teasing, chaining, and abuse, were included in news reports of dog attacks to explain behavior. However, not all cases involved provocation. Some dogs attack due to territorial or dominance issues, and there are always cases when a dog attack cannot be attributed to any motivations that can be understood by humans. The reasons why dogs attack are often complex, but the answer to preventing dog attacks is relatively simple. Humane care and control of dogs is often all that is needed to prevent most dog attacks. Perhaps one reader summed up the dog problem best in 1905. At this season of the year, dogs that are suffering from the heat and the attacks of pestiferous insects are ill-humored and cross. That they should snap at children passing by or bite tormentors of more mature years is not surprising. Perhaps, the dog is not to blame for all the assaults which he commits. More blameworthy, possibly, is his owner. The dog owner's duty to the animal and the public does not end with the payment of the tax. If he does right, he will protect the animal from the torments of the heated season, and by keeping him off the streets, safeguard innocent people from the animal's hot weather temper. There are two sides to the vicious dog stories. Fort Wayne Daily News, July 21, 1905.